1 year of seasonal reviews. How's it going, everybody? So, as you may or may not know, the spring 2022 season of anime is well on its way, and honestly, by the time this video comes out, it might well be over. And while I feel like I say this almost every season, this season has just been stacked with a ton of amazing shows, so much so that I honestly can't even fathom how I'm managing to keep up with as many as I am. And as you can tell from the video length down here, there are a ton of really amazing openings and endings, so much so that I'm starting to wonder if it's always the spring season that just comes flying out with all these amazing songs. So because we've got a lot to cover and I don't want to bother my neighbors for too long, let's just get right into it. So for the openings, we are starting off with the opening for 恋は世界征服のあとで 恋は Explosion by Oishi Masayoshi featuring Tamura Yukari. His rap voice it has this weird cheesy quality that sounds kind of stupid, but I love it. Oh, I love this too, the really funky bass line here. I mean, I'll be honest, the chorus is not the strong part of this song, because it's definitely the verse, just killing it. Oh. Line. Ooh, alright. Alright. Weird hip-hoppy section. Ooh, let's go! Sax solo! Oh wait, it's not a sax. Wait, did it start with a sax solo, or was I just stupid and that was a horn the whole time? Very Motown chorus. Oh, and that's a fun ending. What a good way to start it off. I really enjoy that one. It's a lot of fun. I love the horns when they come in at the beginning part, like those stabs. I didn't realize there was going to be a sax and then trumpet solo. That hip-hop bit in the middle was kind of funny in the way that the show is funny. Out of nowhere, but the whole thing doesn't make that much sense. So it was just like, you know what? Great. It's a lot of fun, and I will continue to enjoy listening to it. So next up, we've got the opening for Spy Family Mixed Nuts by Official DANdism. Such a cool opening, like so chaotic, but the bass holds it all together so well. The piano is very, very Higedam. Oh, this bass line, oh, this is a crazy bass line. I love Higedam's rhythms. They're always like relatively simple, but they sound complex when you hear them. Not the most complex vocal line. It's very much on the bass. Like, the bass is doing so much work in this song. There's a lot to be said about the fact that the bass is sort of carrying this track. The usually hidden part is what's carrying it, like a spy, or like an assassin, or like anyone keeping secrets, you know, like Anya as well. Oh my god, this bass is so good! Props to you, bassist and Higedam. This is insane. A similar ending to the previous track. I don't think I've ever paid that much attention to the bass line. I knew just from watching the opening and hearing those beginning bits that the bass does obviously start off with a really fast walking bit. I didn't realize it just kind of like keeps going here the whole song. I was paying so much attention to the bass line that I didn't really catch a lot of the other things going on. So great bass line, some cool little horn bits in there. It's very fitting the way that they've arranged this track to fit with the show while still just being a cool song on its own. Next up, we have the opening for Gunjo no Fanfare, Move the Soul by Joy. Move the soul! 自分を超えて未知の世界へ Go up! I can make my I don't know much about Joy. I did a tiny bit of research on them before this video. From what I understand, they're a Japanese group signed under like a Korean label. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but that's why it's so K-pop. But man, everything you'd expect from a good K-pop beat, like such clean production, such great vocals, and just the style of music makes you want to dance. I always laugh at K-pop style rap, and even if it's in Japanese, it's still the same style. Such a good build-up though. I mean, it's almost club-like. It's like club music. Ooh, nice little ARP there. Faster, faster. This is a cool bridge. I like this bridge a lot, actually. Those vocal chops are really nice. Yeah, honestly, when it comes to K-pop, I'm way more interested in who writes the music and produces it than I am the actual artists. Not to say that the singers are bad. The singers are amazing. How is their production always so clean? How do they manage to do all the things they do? It's insane. I really like all the little things that I can hear and sort of pick out, but man, that is not my area of expertise. I just think it sounds amazing. Great vocals, obviously. It sounds great. The production is always clean. They have really good ways of flowing in and out of sections. Like the build into the chorus is great. Good stuff. Next up, we have the opening for Kunoichi Tsubaki no Mune no Uchi, Highlight Highlight by the peggies. Oh, I love this arrangement. Okay, I've said it before, the peggies never miss. It sounds like a Sumika song performed by the peggies, and that is just a marriage that I didn't think I would ever need to hear, but oh man. Highlight, highlight. Oh, so good. I almost want to hear Sumika cover this song because, oh, it's so their style. Nice sort of secondary dominant, making you think it's going to change keys, and then it goes back, but then it does change keys for the chorus anyway, just without the secondary dominant. Highlight, highlight. Whoever does the keyboard for the peggies never gets enough credit because their lines are always relegated to the background. I've thought about transcribing Peggy's songs before, but every time I hear the keyboard part, I'm like, dude, I can't figure out what they're playing. It's insane. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I am going to make a very strong statement here. This is probably my favorite Peggy's song of all time, and like they've put out some crazy bangers. This is way different from the Rent-A-Girlfriend opening, way different from the Bunny Girl opening, way different from the Sarazanmai ending. That whole thing is so Sumika. It turns into something that I never knew I needed to hear and never would have even really considered because the Peggies don't usually write music in this kind of style. There's so much going on, but it all feels very compact, very tight-knit. The build into the chorus, they do a funny little secondary dominant thing where it's like, oh, we're gonna change keys, but then it jumps back. The moment she jumps up to the highlight, highlight, it is a new key. Just a lot of cool musical stuff. Next up, we have the opening for Otome game Sekai wa mobu ni厳しい世界です. Silent Minority by Ito Kashitaro. Okay, I didn't have a ton to say, but the chorus is so different from the verse. It almost sounds like two different songs, but they clearly fit together. It's so sparse for the verse, but then this chorus part, it's so well filled out. Ooh, that was a nice transition. Just straight into it, using the drums. Ooh, cool bass synth. Ooh, I mean, I'm always a sucker for the understated chorus. It's a really interesting blend in the chorus. Like, the vocals are going relatively slowly, but then the beat is just like chugga 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 chugga. Oh, the synth. Whoever's running the keyboard or the synth or whatever it is, props to you, man. I mean, that's a lot of fun. Why did I put this in the list? Because I feel like while I was listening to it just now, I didn't have a lot to say. I think the reason I put it in is mostly because of the vocals. Like, his vocals, he has really good voice control, especially when it comes out so vulnerably in the understated chorus, because he didn't drop down an octave or anything to hit those high notes during the part where there's like nothing else going on to support him. He does build into the higher notes, but then he holds those higher notes for pretty much the whole chorus, and it's a lot more impressive than I think it comes across when you're just listening. Sounds really great, and his vocals, again, just amazing. Next up, we've got the opening for Birdie Wing, Venus Line by Hirose Komi.
Venus Line, Venus Line, 鮮やかな希望を切って
There's something so cheesy about this song, but I love it. This is like Wii Sports meets funk with some weird lyrics. I really like the strings, and that was a cool chromatic descent. Ooh, let's go piano. Da, 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 da. Really nice arranging. I mean, these funk style arrangements are always amazing, but damn. Ooh. That was good. That was a really good way to get into the chorus. Just cutting things out. It's so campy, but at the same time, there's a lot of really good musical stuff going on. Her singing is amazing. It's just that the lyrics are weird and cheesy. That lasted a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but it still worked just as well for that. Ooh, what are those chords? Super dissonant piano. This is not what I was expecting for the bridge, holy. Nice chromatic build up. Ooh, nice and major. Never went as high as I'm singing. Oh my god, it's so cheesy. It's so campy. Venus, Venus. That was a workout to listen to. I just wanted to jam to that forever, but also, what the hell is this song? Oh man, what a great arrangement and like a great group. She has such a powerful voice. Like, she was getting all those. She had really beautiful vibrato in a lot of that. I just couldn't get over how cheesy the words were. Hearing those English lines, just like, what is happening? But it's great. It adds just so much more character to the song. The campiness is well loved and appreciated. What have we got next? Oh god, we've got another campy song right after. Next up is the opening for Skeleton Knight in Another World. Waga Roman no Michiyo by PelleK. Oh my god, the vocals are so good and the arrangement. This is so much camp, so much cheese back to back. I can't handle it. My heart's gonna explode right now. I just feel so happy. Such good vocals, and hearing those harmonizations in the vocals too. Oh, I love this. It's like hair metal with a more grunge rock aesthetic. It's so simple too, like this beat. I mean, I think there are a lot of cool things going on with the guitars and the arrangement. Things are just constantly in motion with this track. Ooh, oh, slowing down the drums and the arrangement and going back into it. Nice. Oh, that was really smart. This right after Venus Line, there's just so much camp, so much cheese. Where Venus Line had like a sort of funky arrangement and like cool disco-y kind of vibes, it was riding, I almost want to say, purely off of campiness. This one, it's like a weird fusion of grunge rock and hair metal. Those vocals, man, those are insane. After I listened to this a few times, not the full version, but just the opening version, was always stuck in my head. And now I catch myself singing it in the shower, even though I don't know any of the words. I'm just screaming the notes. The campiness is like up here, but then the hype is just off screen. You can't even see it. The hype for this song is just, it's so good. Next up, we have the opening for Data Live 4, Over by Tomita Miyu. Such a classic Data Live opening arrangement. I love Data Live opening songs. I don't remember season 3 like at all, but this one and the original, great. Such nice piano line too. Interesting rhythms. Oh, that time it kept going. Yeah, very interesting use of rhythms and breaks. It's a cool little vocal riff, I guess you could call it. Ooh, and a really nice transition back into the opening chords, because I missed it. It was just so smooth. Nice rhythms. Ooh, I thought this was gonna be an understated chorus that I was like about, but then those guitar chords, they changed the harmonies a little bit. It sounded really nice there. Let's hear this transition back to the beginning. Oh, I love the way they transition that. Oh, it's so good. Data Live music. They always sort of this style, if I'm remembering correctly. This one has been sticking with me a lot just because I really love the very opening where it's got the strings and the piano sort of outlining the chords, and then they add in the drums and then it gets just like kicked into overdrive. It's so clean. I feel like I don't hear a lot of music like this one, even though all the elements seem to point towards it being just like a lot of other J-pop-y kind of music, or at least anime-style J-pop music. Data Live music needs to be given a chance, even though the shows are hot trash that I love because of that. But yeah, no, good music all around from it. Next up, we've got the opening for Dance Dance Danseur, Narihibiku Kagiri by Yuki. I don't think this part plays usually. Ooh, this sounds very hip-hop. Okay, that intro definitely doesn't play in the opening. It usually just goes straight into the singing. But now that I've got hip-hop on the mind, it's a very hip-hop beat. Nice horn lines. Unexpectedly orchestral for the backing. Strings, horns. Ooh. Ooh. Cool bass line. Nice cutting in and out of the sounds. Ooh, okay. Ooh, wow, she held that for a long time. Ooh, I love that. I love this sound, whatever it is. Key change for the final chorus. Always change the key for the final chorus. That's a standard of J-pop music. And a cool bass line. Very stage orchestra-like, despite the fact that it was very pop style vocals. So it was a very interesting mix. I want to say that I like the way it all blends together, but the thing is that it felt like, once I was listening more in detail than I would if I were just watching, it felt like the elements weren't actually blending as well as they should have. The orchestral parts were working very well with the hip-hop parts. The hip-hop parts were working well with the vocal parts. I couldn't really feel the correlation between the strings and horns with her singing so much. There was too much of a clash of styles. Like, the hip-hop was sort of holding them all together, but that made me feel like I wanted something different out of her vocals. Like, I wanted something a little more hip-hoppy. I like her vocals. They just didn't feel like they fit with the song, which is weird because they're right there at the forefront. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Next up, we've got the opening for DEAIMON Sumire by Sakamoto Maya. nice way to transition into the endings after. You can never go wrong with Sakamoto Maya. Oh, it's so calming. Very fitting with the Yasuke aesthetic of the show. Ooh, organ. Organ very subtly coming in the back. It's such a very, very gradual build into the chorus that it almost doesn't even feel like it built in. It just kind of feels like it was naturally supposed to go that way. Ooh. Ooh. What is this? Ooh. That was so different. Like, what a weird jarring cut back to the opening chords and now with a guitar. But that was really cool, that orchestral bit there. I feel like there are key changes in this song. I just can't figure out when they're happening. Oh, well, I mean, here's an obvious one, but earlier, I don't think there was something quite so indicative of a key change. Oh, getting another cool instrumental outro. I mean, aside from that, like, crazy thing that happened in the middle, everything else was pretty straightforward. It's just very calming. Sakamoto Maya is an amazing singer, so when she has to tone things down a bit, it sounds amazing because she's got such a nice peaceful quality about her voice, but then she can also belt out and do crazy things. I think a lot of what made it stand out to me was just that we don't often get a lot of really calming openings. The build into the chorus, like, it starts basically right from the very start of the song so gradually that it's just sort of like this hump, and then it goes like way crazier for that weird orchestral thing, and it cuts out and goes straight back to the beginning. Man, what a cool instrumental breakdown in the middle there. Just a lot of cool stuff. And that is it for the openings. So to start us off for the endings, we've got Spy Family's Kigeki by Hoshino Gen. Love this beat, so good. And I honestly didn't know Hoshino Gen did this type of almost lo-fi style music. Oh, I love that switch there. And a little doing. Ooh, that's a really cool rhythm. Ooh, that too. Oh, I love that synth. Oh man, it's so good. So good. What a chill beat. Oh. Ooh, key change. Man, I feel like I'm listening to Odd Taxi for the first time all over again. Oh. Hey. Oh. Such a clean mix too. Very, very simple, very lo-fi aesthetic, but man, that's all it needs. The lo-fi cousin to Odd Taxi. There's not a lot to say about it musically, it just sounds amazing. Definitely didn't realize he did this kind of music. I thought most of it was more pop style, and then this came out, it was like, what is this? When I hear something like this, I'm like, damn man, this doesn't sound at all like any kind of anime song. It just sounds like a regular cool lo-fi style hip-hop beat, and then Hoshino Gen just happens to be the singer on the track. Clean production in there too. Not too much that I can say about it because I was just vibing too hard with the song as a whole. Next up, we've got the ending for Kawaii Dake Janai Shikimori-san, Root Blue by Nakashima Yuki. Interesting vocal rhythm at the very beginning there. I think part of what makes me love this song so much is just the animation for the ending. It's got that classic like arcade game aesthetic. Also, just listening to it right now is like, holy crap, there's a lot going on here. A lot more than I realized. Ooh. Okay, definitely didn't notice there was this much going on. Very cutesy vocals too. For some reason, this is reminding me a lot of Kanojo mo Kanojo. It's not really the same style at all, but something about it. It like treads the line between being like weeb style electronic music, sort of like Snail's House, Yushie, those style producers. It's like just treading the line where it's like a regular electronic song and a weeb beat, and it's really cool. I really like all the elements it's pulling from both sides. Oh man, they're just like, there's so many elements going on. It's like an eargasm. I don't know what to listen to because it all mixes so well, but it's like I'm trying to pick out individual elements because that's just what I do. And there's just too many. There's like a million different things going on all at once. I feel like I just had brain overload, like audio overload. Again, there were just like way more elements than I was prepared for with that song. I didn't realize how many different elements actually were in it. Very basic sort of like bubblegum pop kind of vocals where they're just sort of, they're there, but you're not really listening for the vocals. You're listening for all the other crazy elements. Like you could play the instrumental version and it wouldn't be the same without the vocals, but like the vocals, they're used in a different way than standard pop or J-pop or whatever. I like it a lot. It changed my perception of this song completely. Now that I've heard it, I'm like, holy crap, there's a ton to dissect from that, and I just missed all of it because I was not prepared for how much was in that. We don't have time to go back and listen to it again, so let's move on to the next ending, which is the ending for Awashi, Blue Diary by Rinne. Nice FM synth. So it's funny, it's very hip-hop style, but the actual instruments playing are much more rock than they are hip-hop. Nice reverberant piano, gives it a sort of ethereal feel. I love the reverb on all of the instruments. It gives it such a pleasing, like ethereal floating feel. And even his voice has a bit of reverb. Interesting way of letting the piano do something a little more interesting in the verse. Was that like a gun sound effect? That was weird. I think that was also supposed to be an understated chorus, but because the whole song is so chill and like ethereal sounding, it sounded almost no different. But it's so chill. I love this too. So chill. I love it. I love the way that they utilize the reverb because a lot of anime songs and J-pop songs don't really utilize reverb in a way that makes it fit into the mix, at least not to an extent where you would want to notice it. Like the last song I can remember that really utilized reverb in a noticeable way was the Aquatope ending, the first ending. There's not much to the arrangement itself. Like it had an interesting little piano bit. It was just like a short, very short piano riff in the middle. And then of course the FM synth effect, the contrast from the beginning and the end, it's opening you up into all of this. And then by the end, you've got the harmonizations going underneath. We're already opened up and it just sounds very nice. Really great stuff. Next up, we've got the ending for Tomodachi Game, Tomoshibi by Saji. Oh, I love the vocals in this song. They're so good. Cool bass line too. So many of these songs have cool bass lines. Such a good vocal line. I'm not going to say that the arrangement, like the instrumental backing, is bad. It's not bad at all. It's just very standard as a sort of like, I guess, rock song, which we can expect from Saji. I talked about Saji in a previous video. They did the opening for Kageki Shoujo, but I don't know how much I talked about the vocal performance in that one. Whereas here, it's just like, it's all about his vocal performance and it sounds so good. Oh, this bassist is killing it. Ooh, that was fun. Yeah, this bassist is killing it. It's the bass and the vocals for this song. They're really like the stars of this track. definitely put this one on here for the vocal performance. Like, I haven't listened to it in detail, so I never noticed the bass line before. That vocal performance, something about it always draws me in. Just listening to him sing the way he did there's something so catchy about that melody. It's weird because even just now listening to it, while I was listening to it, I was getting some of those notes wrong. It feels familiar, even though it changes enough things that stop it from being exactly like what I'm expecting it to sound like. Just a very standard sort of band setup with a really great bass line, really great vocal line. In the simplest of terms, good. Next ending. The ending for Birdie Wing, Yodaka by Tsukiyomi. Oh, not campy at all. I like all these reversed sounds in the background. I wish that drop had hit a bit heavier, but it was a nice way to open up the song right after the calm little guitar bit. Oh, pretty muddy drums. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think they open up during the chorus. Yep, there we go. Weird choice to have them be so muddy before the chorus. Like, they didn't need to do that. Oh, but such a nice vocal line. Weirdly enough, I think this track actually does better when it's not got so many instruments in the mix, and then it like explodes into the chorus. Nice cutout. Oh, that was good. Now the piano's doing some fun stuff in the background. It's almost mimicking the vocal line, but then it's doing its own little embellishments at the same time. So I think the full version of the song went in a slightly different direction than I thought it would, because hearing just the 90-second ending version, it sounds very dramatic and it has that nice sort of opening guitar pattern with all the little synth effects and things going on with it. It gives it a sort of short, concise, dramatic feeling, whereas I feel like it got a bit stale going over the whole time, and so when they were just adding in other instruments on top of it, it's just more layers on top of itself, but it's still the same exact thing, so I don't know what I'm supposed to be listening for. I'll admit, a little bit disappointed with how that one turned out. Unfortunately, this one just sounded like a continuation of what we had heard, but without adding anything, so to speak. It had caught my attention as being a really cool song in the show. It didn't really live up to it here. So anyway, let's move on to the next ending. Komi-san Season 2, Koshaberi Biori by Fantastic Youth. This would be a fun piano line to learn. This is a nice building band setup. Ooh, such nice clean drums. This almost reminds me of like Fana. Some of Fana's older works, or their more calm works. Nowhere near as complex as a Fana track, because Sato Junichi is a beast, but I mean this rhythmic part, what is this? Just suddenly triplets, tons of triplets, and then back to the cool piano line. Ooh, this is nice, having the pit strings doubling the piano. It gives it a nice, like, more ringing effect. Again, really clean percussion. What is with the percussion being so clean in this mix? Ooh, let's go. Yeah, this reminds me a lot of Fana. This is an interesting way to do. Oh, what a cool way to do an understated chorus for a song that's already understated. Nice, like vocal effects and like this weird sort of crackling sound in the back. And now it feels very, very full because it was so sparse and it had that crackling to sort of mimic, I guess, like a record player almost. Oh, I love these triplets. Very sudden cutoff. I almost wish that one had more of like a chord that they just hold and let it sort of die off on its own naturally. I was not expecting that out of that song, and that time in a very good way. Man, there's so much more to this track than just that piano riff. Her vocals are obviously very, very good. There's that cool triplet thing that happens at the end of the chorus. They were doing some like cool gradual vocal effects on her in the understated chorus. Just so many different elements in succession. You were getting little like snippets of things to expect. I'm still trying to process honestly what I just heard because it was so many more elements than you expect. Next up, we have the ending for Skeleton Knight, 僕らが愚かだなんて誰が言った by Dialogue Plus. This also has a very cool piano line. And this is why I chose it. Not the cleanest vocals, they're like singers, but oh man, this beat though, the production, who produced this? It's so good. Oh, I love that glissando that they do at the end of the chorus. I couldn't even say that this sounds like a club banger type of beat either. It's just like really clean electronic music, and then there's like the dubsteppy sort of section in the middle. I don't know what that sound effect is. It sounds like bamboo. It might even be just like processed bamboo. Okay, some of these girls are pretty good at singing. Others are having trouble hitting some of the notes. I'll be honest, I picked that song for a very specific reason, and that's just because the electronics are just so good for it. The singing and all that, I think I've said my piece on idols multiple times throughout this channel. The vocals are nothing crazy good. Some of them are pretty good singers, others definitely need a bit of work. Other than that, the production, holy crap, it almost sounds like it's a remixed song. It doesn't sound like that is the original song, but clearly it is. There's so much to say about the electronic bits that I just do not have the chops for, because there's so many elements that I don't know how to talk about, and I'm upset about that because I wanted to say more. Anyway, we've got to move on. The next one is the ending for Paripi Kohmi, your boy Kong Ming, Kibun Jojo, version 3, all 4 vocalists. So that is Eiko, Juge Kongming, Kabe, and Nanami, who respectively are voiced by Kuroneko, Okiayu Ryotaro, Chiba Shoya, and Lezo. Such a jam. Oh, I love the horns. And the piano is doing some really nice chords that like help support this all. Like, such a good mix. I wish I knew the words to this, because the chorus is really fun to sing. Interesting guitar chords. They sound almost outside of the key, or at least they're harmonizing to a different key. Oh, the arrangement is just so good. And then when they all come together to sing together, it sounds so good too. Which, weirdly enough, they're all singing in unison, but I think it works in this case, unlike idol things where everything is unison. Ooh. Not the cleanest key change or mood shift, but oh, such nice horns. Ooh, what's going on? So I was right, I was thinking it sounded lower. Interesting. So they actually key shifted down and then shifted back into the regular key for the final chorus. So it wasn't a key change for the final chorus, it was for the penultimate chorus, the build-in chorus. Cool effect. Yeah. Great stuff, like great mixing, the great horn writing, some cool piano things, and they did a really cool thing. Completely new key, no setup into the new key, they just switched into it. They build back into the original key. They had already changed keys and they were just going back to the original. It was a cool effect, like very interesting. I don't know that it necessarily added it anything, but it was not something I think I've ever heard in a J-pop song. At least everything sort of builds into itself, and then it's sort of like the journey of having heard it start out with just Eiko, and then you get Kabe, who comes in to do the verses, and then you get Nanami in the most recent version. I feel like there weren't a lot of specifics I could talk about. It's just like overall, I like vibing out to this track. Let's move on to the final song, which is the ending for Kakko no Inazuke, Shikaku Unmei by Sangatsu no Fantasia. Ooh, what a cool piano line, and a really nice guitar line on top of it too. Oh my god, the arrangement is so good. I love this kind of bass too, the kind of like slap bass. I have no problem with her vocals. She has a very pretty voice, but her voice is the least impressive part of this whole song. Holy. Oh, how did they get the piano riff and the guitar riff to work on top of each other like that? They're so soloistic, but they're both like soloing over each other in a way that works with themselves. Okay, what are they gonna do for the final chorus and the build into it? New guitar pattern. Piano's a little more just chord bass. Alright. They didn't do too much for the bridge there, but that's alright. I wasn't really expecting too much, honestly. Okay, here's the understated chorus that builds into the regular. For some of the other songs like Shikimori's ending, I talked about audio information overload. That was in a league of its own because I wasn't expecting it. This one, I was expecting it, and it was still just like, you've got two soloists going over top of each other. Bass was going crazy too. The drums trying to keep everything together. And then her vocals, again, really pretty voice. She just, I don't think this was the best showcase of what she could probably do. Definitely the focus on this song was the many elements of the instrumental backing, because holy, that was insane. Just like trying to listen to the patterns and stuff. I would love to transcribe that, but it would take so long. I'm going to need to think for a bit before I get on to my top picks for the season, so hang tight while I get to that. Okay, so what I said about wrapping this up quickly ended up being a huge lie, because by the time I finished talking about the endings, it was about 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night, so we're just finishing it up now, and that's why there's the random change of clothes in the middle of the video. So before I get to my top picks of the season, we're just going to talk about some of the honorable mentions that could have made the top picks, but just were missing a little bit that I think kept them from being up there. So first we have the opening for Love All Play, Harutsumame by Heisei Jump. It is a nice sounding song if you like J-pop music, but it is just that kind of generic Johnny's Pop Idol style music that is basically the standard for what middle ground J-pop idol music should sound like. Again, not a bad song by any means, but it just didn't really do enough to actually stand on its own where you compare it to a lot of the other openings and ending songs that made the list. Next we have the opening for Shikimori, which is Honey Jet Coaster by Nasuo. I actually quite like this song, but whenever I think about it, the first thing that comes to mind is the sort of opening section and the opening verse. The verse, I feel like, is not that strong, whereas the chorus is really nice. It almost sounds like two different songs that are just not meshing that well. It just feels like they wrote two different songs that weren't necessarily meant to be together. We also have the opening for Aoashi, Mushin Paksu by Alexandros. Really cool opening riff. There's also a lot of cool musical arrangements that go on throughout the song. Overall, the song itself is just kind of standard J-rock that, again, kind of the same vein as the Johnny's song. Doesn't really stand out all that much when you compare it to some of the great standouts from the top picks of the season. The opening for Ascendance of a Bookworm Season 3, Anohi no Kotoba by Toyama Nao. It's very pleasant, it's very calming, and it does have a nice sort of build in the chorus that I like. Aside from that, it isn't really all that standout when I compare it to something like Season 1's opening, where it had that cool 5/8 rhythm with the scattered 6/8. This one couldn't do anything to make it work any better than that first one did, especially from a narrative perspective. I'm gonna get a ton of hate for this one, but it is the opening for Paripikome, Chiki Chiki Bam Bam by Queendom. Aside from just being a really catchy song with clean production, there isn't all that much that makes it musically interesting. There's not a lot that changes throughout the course of the song, and that just kind of keeps it from being a real standout. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It sounds great. Something about it, it just didn't really work for me be enough to make it one of the top picks. And the last opening for the honorable mentions is from Kakko no ii Nazuke Dekoboko by Yoshioka Kyoe. It is a really great song and probably does actually deserve to be in the top picks. There's something about it that just doesn't stick in my mind, and I can't really put my finger on what that is because it sounds great while I'm listening to it, and I pretty much watch the opening every single episode. The moment the song finishes playing, within maybe about 5 minutes, I've already forgotten how it goes, so I don't really know how you can interpret that. It's obviously a very personal reason why it's not in my top picks, but who knows? And for the endings, we have the ending for Love All Play, Lyra by Long Man.
Long,
This song was pretty cool. I can't remember how it goes, honestly, off the top of my head. There were a lot of weird, interesting production things and mixing things that made it not really your standard J-pop song, especially when you compare it to the opening for that show. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't find it memorable enough. Maybe because there were so many weird elements to it. It was a cool song, just not one that I could remember that well. The ending for Kunoichi Tsubaki, Akanegumi Katsudo Nishi by all the voice actresses, but really as a whole by the composer Shirato Yusuke. 1300% deserves to be in the top picks. I mean, quite literally. There is a different version for every single episode. They've changed the lyrics, they've completely changed the arrangement, and they've changed a lot of the harmonies for each different arrangement as well. It's not really fair for me to have to then go through the ones that are out at the time of recording, pick my favorite of those to be the representative of all of them, because they're all so different. They all have such a different character. I think it would just be a disservice for me not to put in my favorite, but there is a ton of really great stuff that goes on with this song. Unfortunately, it doesn't really fit the format of this kind of video, so I had to relegate it to the honorable mentions. Following that up, we've got the ending for Kotaro Hitorigurashi Chisana Tenohira by Kotringo. I think a lot of people will probably have forgotten about this show because it came out with all of its episodes right at the very beginning of the season. The ending song, I mean, I love Kotringo's music, and while this isn't necessarily one of my favorite songs by her, it does contain all of the really cool elements that she puts into pretty much all of her music. And if you want to hear more about Kotringo's music and her amazingly weird, complex, but calming style, I did my second video ever about an entire soundtrack by her, so you can check it out at the link here. The ending for Dance Dance Danseur, Kaze Hana by Hitorie. This one was kind of like a 50-50 on whether I was going to put it in the top picks or not. Ultimately, I just pulled it because while it is enjoyable and memorable enough, it just didn't really stand out to me as much as a lot of the others in the list. There were a couple songs in there that I probably could have replaced it with. As much as I like it, this one just barely not good enough to make the top picks, in my opinion. And finally, we have the ending for Kaguya-sama Season 3, Heart wa Oteage by Suzuki Airi. I think I like the video more than the actual song. There's nothing that really makes it stand out that much. Like, it's nice to listen to, but there's not too much cool stuff that I think happens in it. Splitting up Suzuki Airi and Suzuki Masayuki was not the best call. I like this ending song better than I do like the opening song, but again, she doesn't do anything that makes her sound like the powerhouse singer she is the way that she did just being the harmonic line in the opening for season 2. I mean, it happens, what can you do? And that's all we've got for that. I know that there's going to be some complaints about certain songs. Let's get on to the top picks for the season. For the openings, I don't think it's going to come as a surprise to anyone. My top pick of the season is the opening for Kunoichi Tsubaki no Muneno no Uchi, Highlight Highlight by the peggies. I say it all the time, the peggies never miss when they write music. It's obviously performed by the peggies, but them playing a song in the style of a Sumika song is just so mind-blowingly amazing. And despite how different this is from what they usually sort of write, this almost seems to fit way better. The fact that they were able to do this so well, so cleanly, and still sound like themselves, but also sound like another band that I love, it kind of blows my mind. And so now we're at the endings, which I actually didn't have a prediction for going into this video, and it came down to 3 of them: the ending for Spy Family, the ending for Komi-san, and the ending for Kakko no ii Nazuke. The one that I was going for the most was the ending for Kakko no Inazuke Shikaku Unmei by Sangatsu no Fantasia. A number of elements that were going on in that song, just the number of layers stacked on top of each other, but the way that they had those layers all sort of blending together, and not slow soloistic lines or like relatively simple soloistic lines, but crazy piano riffs, a nice guitar thing going, a cool bass line too. I said it before, the weakest part of this song are the vocals, but it's because the vocals are kind of doing a different effect, I think, than the rest of the arrangement, where you're supposed to be listening to the backing music. It's so good, it's so crazy. I would love to transcribe this. I probably won't because it will take me so long to figure out what the piano is doing and what the guitar is doing, but man, this song is so good, and I don't know what else to say about it. It's fantastic. And that's all I've got for this video. I mean, as usual, I can't possibly watch everything that's airing this season, you know, despite how hard I tried this time around. And despite how many I picked, I'm sure that I missed a few just because I either wasn't watching the show or maybe even because I dropped the show. As I say every season, I do really want to do an analysis on a few of these songs. But enough of my rambling. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite songs of this season were and what songs you think I missed out on. And if you made it this far into the video, then thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. And hey, while you're at it, make sure that you go over and support me on Patreon, because you'll get access to all of my analytical transcriptions that I do for a lot of the songs that have been in the past videos like these. And if you're a music nerd like me that just likes looking at transcribed music, then that will be the perfect incentive for you to go over and support me. Patreon.com/GengaJP. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.